This morning, President Obama called Speaker of the House John Boehner to, according to Boehner's office, remind the Speaker that he won't negotiate over raising the debt limit. Today, the President faced the media in a news conference, and here's what he had to say.
The American people do not get to demand a ransom for doing their jobs. You don't get a chance to call your bank and say, I'm not going to pay my mortgage this month unless you throw in a new car and an Xbox. If you're in negotiations around buying somebody's house, you don't get to say, well, let's talk about the price I'm going to pay, and if you don't give me the price, then I'm going to burn down your house.
Meanwhile, CNN has proposed a few different scenarios for ending this shutdown debate. Take a look.
Kicking the bums out. Or 3, a steel cage death match. Okay, so number 3 is a joke, but admittedly, it's the most desired outcome because I'd pay to watch that.
All right, Dr. Stein, I want to bring you back into this. You're watching all this unfold safely from Massachusetts there. What's your take on what you're seeing on Capitol Hill right now?
You know, this is like the run-up to the fiscal cliff, which created this, incredible crisis and this sense of doom and gloom, so that when Congress and the president settled that crisis by making the Bush tax cuts permanent and getting rid of the estate tax, for example, doing a whole lot of favors to the 1%, you know, it didn't look so bad because it looked like, oh, gee, at least we didn't go over that cliff. In a sense, you know, this is, one can't help but suspect that that's what's going on now as well, that this is the creation of a crisis atmosphere. Wall Street and the 1%er corporate sponsors, all of them, they're not going to allow the meltdown of the international economy and the stock market and all the rest, the financial infrastructure of the economy and their profits. It's highly unlikely that they would allow that to take place in the same way they wouldn't allow, you know, the initial bailouts in 2007. There was a big movement to stop them, but Wall Street, you know, kicked in with a lobbying effort that had never been seen before and stopped that. The odds are they will not allow that fiscal disaster to happen, but it's very convenient because it creates a smokescreen in which to create fundamentally the, the bargain, the grand bargain that the president has been talking about for at least the last 4 years, whereby he cuts a deal in which Social Security and Medicare get taken down substantially, and he looks like a hero because he averted this desperate, fiscal meltdown with the budget default.
Right. Well, I think you're touching on something that's not getting as much attention in this debate between shutdowns and debt limits, and that's austerity. At this point, it's all but guaranteed that any deal to refund the government will include austerity, spending cuts, the sequester. The president talked about today how Democrats have already caved on this issue. Why have both parties signed on to this economic agenda that's proving to be pretty harmful to working people in Europe and on a state level across the country?
It's horrific, and the academic basis for it, which was a paper out of Harvard, this Reinhardt-Rogoff debate, a paper that justified drastic measures to shrink the budget deficit. That was proven to be wrong. It was a fallacious study that was shown by a graduate student at the University of Massachusetts out in Amherst that looked at the numbers and found that there were major errors in the Excel program that was calculating this. So even that one study on which they were basing these drastic, draconian cuts all over the world, it was proven wrong. But still, they are just, they're in lockstep. They're committed to this dismantling of the remnants of the New Deal and the Great Society and all that. This is part of what happens, what Justice Louis Brandeis referred to when he talked about we have a choice between a democracy or vast concentrations of wealth. And what I referred to before about the top 1% having 50% of all the wealth in the nation. It's like you have 100 people in the room and 100 loaves of bread. One person has 50 loaves of bread, and the 50 scrawniest, most malnourished people in the room all get to share one loaf of bread. That's what the economy looks like today in the United States, and it's only getting worse. The consequences of that very unfair economy is tremendous power of the economic elite, which is in bed with the political elite in both of the political parties, the two major political parties, and they silence alternative voices. Why? Because when the American people hear those alternative voices, it's their own voices that they are hearing, and they will support them. We've seen that before. So, you know, this is a completely logical system in which greed and avarice are just running wild, running rampant over our economy and our political system. It's altogether reflected in that case before the Supreme Court and with the changes around Citizens United as well. So it's really important for us to come together across many issues and stand up for people, peace, and the planet.
I hear what you're saying, Dr. Stein. I hear what you're saying. They were fresh out of time there. Dr. Jill Stein, the 2012 Green Party presidential candidate, thank you so much.
Great to be with you, Sam.